Hey my dear friends, I'm Corey, and in this video I will show you how to paint the Shadow Specters. I was looking pretty forward to upload this tutorial because I honestly think that Shadow Specters are the coolest and most interesting type of aspect warriors of the Aeldari. I was looking so forward to it that it took me like, what, 2 months to upload this goddamn video? But there's a reason for that, which is that I almost completely shatter my sanity trying to figure out what goddamn color the Shadow Specter armor is. Because, you know, Games Workshop, they're pretty kind, you know, giving you an app from which you can just go and they will show you all the paints that they have used to paint this specific miniature so that you can, you know, if you want to recreate that same color scheme, you can just look at the paints, buy them and use them, and you can do that. Not for the Shadow Specters, because they were of course a Forge World model, and I guess that they just said, this is the way that we painted it. You want to know what color we use? Fuck you, piece of shit. Figure it out yourself. And I kid you not, after a lot, and I mean a lot, of trial and error, and after almost giving up, I finally find out the type of color and the tone that is the most accurate type of color that I managed to create for the Shadow Specter, because I am a very stubborn boy and I want for this type of tutorial to recreate the exact same paint scheme for the Aspect Warrior at the best of my capabilities, of course. And I almost managed to recreate this type of color 100%. It's not the exact one, but I think it's the one that it's the most faithful, at least to me. Maybe I'm just bad when I need to deal with color theory and color mixing. Maybe this is just my fault. But, you know, after almost, you know, wasting more than a couple of weeks trying to figure out what color their armor is, I'm pretty happy with the result. You will have to tell me if it's okay for you, but I think I almost nailed it. So, without any more rambling, all of the color that I use are down in the description. Let's go on the hobby table and let me show you how I painted the Shadow Specters. The first thing to do is to prime our model. Generally, I always try to prime my miniatures in the most prominent color feature on the model in order to skip a step by priming and basing at the same time. However, in this case, I decided to use a very light gray primer, since I needed the most neutral color possible to paint over. Alternatively, you could use a dark gray or white primer, but I would avoid anything black or too dark. Now for the base color, which almost drove me insane trying to figure it out. After a lot of trial and error, I think the most faithful color that is almost 100% similar to the one on the Games Workshop website is a mix of 4 to 5 parts of a grayish blue and a single droplet of green ink. I personally used Fensrisian Gray from Citadel and Inktense Green from Scale 75, but I think any similar color from other companies would be just fine. After obtaining the correct tone, I painted almost the entire model with it. You might want to apply 2 or 3 thin coats to make it look as uniform as possible, since this specific color mix is very transparent. Now we have to wash the model a couple of times. The first layer of wash is going to be an overall bright green wash thinned down with water to a 50-50 mix. With this thinned down wash, we are going to apply it on the entire model. This will slightly darken the recesses of the miniature and also lightly glaze it to give it a more greenish tint. The second layer of wash is going to be a dark green wash, thinned down like the previous one, but this time we are going to apply it only in the recesses of the mini. This specific type of washing technique is called panel lining, and it's going to enhance the realism of our model even more. Even though I use a dark green color, alternatively you can use a brown wash. Just be sure to thin it down a little bit more in that case. The next step is going to be a very gentle and light dry brush. I personally suggest using a makeup brush, a very cheap one like this will be just fine, because makeup brushes have very soft bristles. Therefore, it will be much more forgiving if you, like me, tend to be heavy and aggressive when dry brushing your model, especially with miniatures that have a lot of smooth and round surfaces like this one. So now we are going to dry brush the miniature with a very light gray color. This way, all the details and raised part of the model will be accentuated. If you make a mistake by overbrushing a part, don't panic. Keep a ruined brush nearby, dip it in some water, and then brush away the color that you want to erase or smooth out. Remember to go slow and steady. Now we have to base coat the rest of the model. I started with the robes, painting them with a turquoise blue, and then painted the crystals of the prism rifle with a brighter, deep blue color. Since the robes of these miniatures are quite intricate and tricky to paint, I suggest you take your time and try to go as slow, as steady as possible, as any mistake will be quite painful to correct at this point. The other parts that we need to paint are the black tubes, both on the lower part of the prism rifle and on the top part of the jetpack, as well as the eye lenses of the helmet's face mask. I also decided to paint the emblem of the jetpack in black because, unfortunately, the Games Workshop website doesn't provide any images of the back of a painted Shadow Spectre, so I had to improvise. The last decoration to be painted are the red gems on the legs, arms and chest plate, as well as the golden Shadow Spectre symbol on the upper back part of the jetpack. This is also the reason why I decided to paint this part in black before, because then painting a metallic over black is way easier, but anyway. It's time for more dry brushing, alternated with more washing. Instead of painstakingly highlighting every ripple and edge of the robes, I dry brush them with a light blue color obtained by mixing a little bit of white with the original base paint I used earlier. I then washed the area with a thin down blue wash. I did the same thing with the crystals of the prism rifle, but with the washing step first and then dry brushing afterwards, focusing more on the part of the crystal adjacent to the barrel. I also dry brushed the area of the rifle around the crystals to create a bit of OSL, Object Source Light. I dry brushed the crystals a second time very delicately with a bright mint green color to make the glowing blue color of the crystals appear more luminous and shiny. The very last tiny details to paint were the eye lenses of the face mask and the red gems on the armor. In my opinion, the most effective way to paint this detail is to mix a little bit of white or ivory paint with the original color used for these details, and then gently paint a tiny highlight on them. For the gem, I painted the bottom left part, and for the eye lenses, the right part. Then a tiny white dot on the top side of the gems and left side of the eye lenses will complete the job. Now it's just a matter of basing the models. My Eldar's bases are painted in a alien purple and blue paint scheme with some bright pink, blue and white grass scattered on them. However, you can paint the bases of your models in any way you like. After a coat of transparent matte varnish, our Shadow Specters are ready to gracefully fly around the battlefield, blowing up enemy vehicles and heavy infantry with their prism rifle. So my dear friends, thank you very much, and again, sorry if it took me like a lot of time to upload this video, but you know, trying to figure out the color scheme and also painting other models for other project and all the things that happening in my life. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you liked this video. Let me know down in the comments if you were looking forward, like I did, for painting the Shadow Spectre. I really think they are a very cool model, and I really hope that when GW release the Aeldari Codex, they just don't magically disappear out of nowhere, because we are seeing a lot of old Forge Warden resin model just disappeared in the new edition of Warhammer 40k, in the 10th edition of Warhammer 40k, and it's a shame. I really hope the Aspect Warrior, this type of Aspect Warrior, the Shadow Spectre, just remain, because they are so cool. I hope that they remain. Anyway, let me know down in the comments what you think. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. Down in the description, as I said at the beginning, there are all the colors that I use in this tutorial, and also a couple of links, one for my Instagram and the other for my Patreon if you want to support me, which you don't have to, but you know, it's there if you're feeling generous. And subscribe, if I haven't already said that, if you want to see more videos in the future. Anyway, just do it if you want. Anyway, I think this is the end of the video. I'm Corey, and I hope to see you really soon. Ciao, ciao.